You one day in a little toy shop, buy a bag of balloons with the money we got, set them free at the break of dawn. So one by one they were gone. Back at base, bugs in the software flash the message, something's out there, floating in the summer sky. 99 red balloons go by. It's red alert, there's something here from somewhere else. The war machine springs to life, opens up one eager eye, focusing it on the sky where 99 red balloons go by. 99 Decision Street, where 99 ministers meet to worry, super scurry, call the troops out in a hurry. This is what we've waited for, this is it boys, this is war. The president is on the line as 99 red balloons go by. Right, super high-tech jet fighters. Everyone's a superhero, everyone's a Captain Kirk, with others to identify, to clarify and classify. Scramble in the summer sky as 99 red balloons go by. As 99 red balloons go by. 99 dreams I have had, in every one a red balloon. It's all over and I'm standing pretty in this dust that was a city. If I could find a souvenir just to prove the world was here. And here is a red balloon, I cry for peace and let it go.
If there be but 100 of us remain alive, never shall we under any condition be brought under anybody's idea of a new world order. It is in truth not for honor, nor for glory, nor for riches that we are fighting, but for freedom, for that one thing alone which no honest person would give up, save with life itself. Once we were warrior poets. For now, we stand for peace. Alex Glenn, it's the 8th of February 2026, and still not one person connected with Jeffrey Epstein has been charged. How are you both?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm sort of on my travels again. It's been my brother-in-law's 70th this weekend, so I'm down seeing family. But no, not one person has been charged. And apparently now it's all the fault of the Russians.
Well, of course. How are you, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks, Ian. Yeah, putting all the pieces together, who could actually make anything but that assumption? Obviously, for fuck's sake. And now they were debating, oh dear, should Keir Starmer resign because of bloody Peter Mandelson, the Prince of Darkness? I tell you what, that man's a limpet. He will not let go. So anyway, we might get into that.
Well, yeah, no, we definitely will. I want to start with the boss in her lunch breaks at work. Flicks through MSN news, and occasionally you get some weird and wonderful stories coming up. So it's a true and verified fucking story that was on the BBC from Zambia. A guy and two mates go out fishing on the river. They come back to shore with their catch. They're making their way home when they run into a large pod of elephants who they startle. The elephants start charging at them. So one of the three falls in the river and has his leg bitten off by a crocodile. His two mates get him out, but he bleeds to death. And as soon as she told me that story, I thought, fuck me. That's 2026 in a goddamn motherfucking nutshell. It doesn't feel like that, Glenn, doesn't it? It just feels like that.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not frying pan and fire. It's a whole series of frying pans. It doesn't matter which way you jump, you're still in the fucking fire. So yeah, that's exactly how this year feels. It feels like somebody's emptied all the leftover Chinese food into this year, mixed it up in a bucket, and then say, "There you go, take your pick." So that's what it feels like. It's just a mess.
Alex, we don't have to wonder how we'd get on in the midst of a zombie apocalypse. We are in the midst of a fucking zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, there certainly seems to be a distinct absence of brains.
Yeah.
So let's just recap, Shop. Let's just do a little fucking recap on the week. It has been proven beyond any shadow of doubt anywhere that there is a group of extremely rich satanic pedophiles who are puppet mastering the political systems in every Western country on this fucking planet. It's proven beyond a shadow of doubt. Glenn, is that not proven beyond a shadow of doubt?
Oh, absolutely. If anybody doubts that anymore, you go and troll through the 3 million latest drop of the Epstein files. They're always talking about it. Yeah. Apart from going to pizza parties, which they seem to go to all the time, and everybody knows what that means. So yeah, I can't see as that there can be anyone who hasn't literally been living under a rock that doesn't realize this anymore. That this is who is ruling us. This is the kind of filth we have in charge. Deeply corrupt, satanic members of weird secret societies that like to abuse children and God knows what. So yeah, I don't know how there can be any doubt.
And the tentacles of the shadowy network reach everywhere. They reach into the media, they reach into the political systems, they reach into the aristocracy, they reach into the deep state, and they go as high as Buckingham fucking Palace itself. And yet, nobody's doing fuck all about it. And then we have Pizzagate. Pizzagate was real. It's proven. The Podesta emails were real. 10 years ago, I was telling you they were real. Hunter Biden's fucking laptop, real. Anthony Weiner's laptop, real. And now we have the fucking spectacle, as you mentioned, Glenn, of Keir Starmer playing the victim now. Because the narrative is he's a decent man. He was just misled. No, he is not. He might or might not be in the Epstein files directly, but you know who is? His good snogging pal, Lord fucking Ali. And we caught Starmer snogging Lord fucking Ali, and no cunt did a fucking thing.
No.
And let's not forget, never hear Keir, pensioner starver, kid harmer, fucking shielded Jimmy Savile, refused to prosecute Jimmy Savile. Keir Starmer is not a decent man. And then, because they really fucking got under my skin, all these fucking pricks, these abortions who are out there trying to cover for these pedophiles and all their dirty actions, they started to pump this 10-year Keir. So I started my own hashtag. 5 rent boys. Alex, I mean, what is going on in British fucking politics? What the fuck is going on? And even if Keir Starmer goes, we're going to get that clown who's the so-called justice minister, or we're going to get Britain's version of fucking Idi Amin, or we're going to get Wes fucking Streetling, who was Mandelson's fucking plaything back in the day. I mean, what is going on with the fucking politics in Britain, Alex?
Well, if America's got a swamp to drain, then we've certainly got a cesspit. And it's not going to be drained. They're just going to dig the next person out of it to put into place the next corrupted, controlled, manipulatable person into power to do what they want. And nobody cares. Nobody gives a fuck. It's all been proven true. And we talk about predictive program, and we've talked about that the other week, and we see it in place because it's been around, because it's already in people's mind. They're already desensitized to these things. Now, when they're proven, it's, oh, that was true. And that's almost the reaction it's got in the mainstream of people. Oh, so that was true then. What are you doing tonight? Should we go out and get should we go out and get a pizza? That sort of fucking attitude with the humanity. Well, I can't even call them humanity, because nobody cares. Nobody gives a fuck. And nobody ever will until it hits on their doorstep, or it's their child or their daughter or their son, because I don't think they discriminate that much. And I don't know how to make people care. I don't know how you can make people care.
Well, it's why I say we have nothing to work with.
Yeah.
But here's something very disturbing, Glenn. An anonymous, well, he wasn't anonymous, just not someone you'd remember, just a normal person, posted on X, I think it was, this. They said, maybe this is just another test of compliance. Maybe if having dropped the Epstein bomb, there isn't global fucking rebellion against these creatures, because they're not humans, then for certain, they know they could literally do fucking anything and nobody's going to give a shit. What do you think, Glenn?
Yeah. I think that's it. It's we've been living through the constant, not drip feed. The drip feed has been going on forever, but just lately there have been tidal waves of shit that have just hit everywhere all at once, and because people are already used to everything being shit, it seems like it's no surprise, and so there is reaction. There are people talking incessantly all over the internet, all over Facebook, all over X, all over. They're all talking about the Epstein files. There's all these revelations. There's all these people digging, but there's nothing actually concrete being done about any of this. And our media, no matter how long they peer into the filthy cesspit, as Alex says, there is absolutely no way you can find Israel in there. There is absolutely no way you can find any connection to Mossad or MI6 or the rest of the fuckwits. They just cannot see that. No. Oh, I'll tell you what that turd reminds me of. That's Russia. So Russia must have done it all, because they're our enemy, aren't they? After all, Israel's our bestest buddy. And I believe that's very much what was going through Starmer's mind when he appointed Mandelson, because Mandelson was a great confidant and best buddy with Epstein. And surprise, surprise, so is Trump. So therefore, let's give him someone who's just like him. I think that's what that was about. But, I don't know.
Well, Trump, let's the Oompa Loompa. He's so far gone. He's posting videos on Truth Social. There's a misnomer if ever you heard one. Of the Obamas as fucking apes.
Yeah.
And he simply doesn't think it's racist. I mean, rumors abound that he's about to fucking disclose aliens because it doesn't seem to matter what he does, he ain't getting away from fucking Epstein. People just ain't buying it. Because Lane is meant to be testifying tomorrow before Congress. And then we've got the whole fucking Clinton saga, where the Clintons refused to turn up to testify. Then they say they're going to, but they wanted live televised to the nation. And suddenly Trump does his taco. Trump always chickens out and says, no, let's just not bother with the fucking Clintons anymore. I mean, come on. I don't care how fucking stupid you are, Americans. How do you not know that Trump is up to his fucking golden orange fucking fake do in this shit?
Yeah.
Glenn, am I wrong?
Not only are you not wrong, but I think there's even more to it. I've been reading. Well, my son has been telling me that Trump's got dementia for as long as I can remember. And now he's starting to show me reports by doctors who say that Trump's got this thing called frontal lobe dementia. And then he said, you do know he's totally incontinent as well and has to wear nappies, don't you? I said, no, I never. He said, I'm surprised you didn't know that. Apparently there was some broadcast from the Oval Office, where people were backing away because the smell was that bad after he'd shit himself. So is this who you want running the country? An incompetent paedophile who shits himself and has possibly is going down with dementia? Yeah. Tick one in box A. Yeah, that's who I want. Yeah. Fuck's sake. I can't get my head around it. Yeah.
That damn Bongino's making fortunes back doing his podcast. I mean, we don't monetize, but he does. And he's the very man who posts every day. It's the 8th of February and Trump is president of the United States of America. And I reply to him every day, and you're still a paedophile protecting fucking liar.
Yeah. Shortest FBI career ever.
And then we have, because, you know, it's like it just keeps on fucking going. So we have the Winter Olympics in Italy. And the opening ceremony is a fucking satanic ritual complete with fiery pentagrams. And I'm not making any of this up.
Yeah, again.
Fans gets booed. But somehow we're meant to believe that they were chanting USA, USA. No, they were fucking booing the cunt. Israel got booed by the crowds. And suddenly Italy's experiencing fucking railway crashes and malfunctions just like poor old Spain did.
Yeah.
Because Israel's not got anything to do with this except Netanyahu has just been on fucking television again to warn the entire fucking world that if they don't clamp down on this anti-Semite rhetoric, then they're in big fucking trouble. Alex, I mean, is it not clear that Netanyahu right now is calling the fucking shots?
Yeah. Calling the shots, threatening the entire West as if he hasn't picked enough enemies in his own regions. And everyone just says, okay, yes, sir, we'll do what thing. But why? Because he's got nothing on them. Of course, it's Putin that's got all the stuff on them. So why are people listening? Why are people taking notice? But people aren't. People won't do anything. People won't act. People in general don't care, but nobody's buying it's a KGBS, as they're all in the comments saying it's Mossad. They're all in every comment. They know who's calling the shots. They just won't do anything about it. And when you got to the point of threatening the entire West, calling the entire West anti-Semitic because they've had enough of the shit you're doing, it's very clear who is calling the shots here.
Well, and the entire fucking Western world's in lockstep now, funnily enough, coinky dinky, with the clamping down on social media. Because we're not going along with their fucking agenda. I mean, Jesus, honestly. I mean, my mind is fucking frazzled. Absolutely frazzled. And in the meantime, you've got tanks firing at tents in Gaza. Right now as we speak. That's Trump's wonderful piece of shit ceasefire. We've got Israel spraying God knows what toxic chemicals in southern fucking Lebanon so that people, if they return, will die. We've got Israel bombing Syria. And whilst there is no military solution anywhere that says that the US has the power or the might to change the Iranian regime, Yet that military build-up continues. 112. 112 C-17s, which have been made to carry troops, have landed in the Middle East in the last 24 hours. That means that Trump is getting ready to start war. Now, in an age of AI and fucking disinformation, it can be hard to verify just about anything. But as well as in the Epstein document release, we discover an email about Epstein's death the day before it happened, which was kind of coinky dinky. We also have, allegedly, that World War III starts this very day. Well, we've had these sort of things before, and maybe it will and maybe it won't, but my guess is it won't. But my guess is sooner or later there is going to be military action against Iran, and then the world is really in the fucking shit. Glenn, what do you think, brother?
I think that's a very fair assessment. It's at the minute to all the world's appearance, it seems like it's this on off. Will he? Won't he? Is it going to happen? No, I believe it will happen. It's just, well, these things take time. Iran is a tough nut, and despite what any of the media tells you, it will not be any kind of quick victory. The kind that will make Donald Trump look good, and the kind that will give Netanyahu yet another win, and will fit in with both of their plans. But yeah, I think we haven't seen the end of it, but we haven't really seen the start of it. We've seen some attempts to destabilize Iran from within. We've seen some half-hearted drone attacks. We've seen Mossad get their agents rounded up. But no, all of those attempts have failed. And in the end, what Netanyahu wants is military action. And what Netanyahu wants, Netanyahu will get, especially from this president.
Well, and I'll just throw it out there. We're now having this slew of stuff saying Epstein's still alive and in Israel. We're getting photographs. Some of them are definitely AI generated, but we're getting photographs that you go, yeah. Then you have Fortnite. I've never played it. I think it's an online game. But apparently, an Epstein account linked, verified to his emails, has been active as little as 2 days ago playing Fortnite. So either he's alive and in Israel, or they want us to think he's alive and in Israel. I can't figure out which it is for the life of me. I can't. But you certainly seem to be connected to everyone. Everyone. And here's someone he's connected to. The Coke King of fucking Kiev. The Belinsky himself, the little fucking cocaine snorting Nazi. He met Epstein. He was put in power by Epstein. Epstein and the Rothschilds in these emails openly saying Ukraine will offer great opportunities. And up to 200,000 Ukrainian children are missing.
Oh, man.
Oh, but there's an international arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin because he dared to fucking save as many of them as he could.
Yeah.
Now, that was something I pointed out years ago as well. But let's talk about Ukraine. Because it's falling, and it's falling in real time now. The city of Zaporizhia is going to be gone very soon. Russian special operatives are already in the city centre working, sabotaging. And it's not heavily defended because Ukraine can't defend anywhere heavily now. They're stretched too thin. They've taken the way the road system in that part of Eastern Europe is to deliver certain things from one part of Hungary to the other, you have to go through Ukraine. Well, they've taken to hijacking the lorries, kidnapping the drivers and throwing them to the front line. No wonder Orban's getting a little bit fucking frustrated with Zelensky. And of course, we have the whole fucking facade of the piece of shit president. Well, the peace board's going to meet soon, by the way. That'll solve fucking everything. But the piece of shit president negotiating with the Russians and all the time while they're sitting there at that negotiating table, the Ukrainians are still plotting assassinations in Moscow. So we had the deputy to the very guy who was negotiating for the Russians being shot multiple times in Moscow. He survived. He's awake. They've got the perpetrators. And no surprise, Quinky fucking Dinky. One of my informants tells me the Russians know MI5 was directly involved. Alex, you know, I mean, what the fuck is Russia meant to fucking do at this point?
To be honest, I'm surprised we're still here. We are so knee deep in everything. Well, up to our necks in everything, not knee deep. Up to our necks, over our heads into everything. And Russia has the receipts for every single thing we've done. I'm surprised they haven't claimed those receipts by now. I think if we had pretty much any other president in Russia apart from Putin, I think we'd be underwater by now, because they have the power to do that. And as much as people sit in the comments saying, oh, Russia won't do anything, Russia can't do anything, oh, they're losing people, they've got people, they're hemorrhaging men at the front lines, and all the rest of the Western propaganda that still gets spewed in comments on X. If we know it's not the case, it's not the case when they're consistently advancing the front line, when they're not abandoning positions like Ukraine are having to do. It's insane. And I don't know. I don't know what more we're supposed to get away with. And
well, we're getting away with everything. Macron is assassinating fucking Gaddafi's son because he wants those Libyan resources. They're all now starting to think, oh, maybe we should talk to the fucking Russians because we need that cheap gas, no matter what von der fucking crazy says. They make up fucking numbers. General Mike Flynn says 700 or 900,000 protesters were killed in Iran. Nonsense, utter fucking nonsense. And yet, people believe it. Glenn, make it make sense to me.
I'll tell you what, amidst all of this, of these revelations, amidst all of this pedophilia, amidst all of this satanic shit, amidst all of the backstabbing and conniving and underhandedness, the one person that stands out and has done for a very, very long time, even before all of this really hit the fan, was Putin, because Putin was making speeches years ago about his belief in family values, about his belief in people will be allowed to practice and encouraged to practice their faith, about the fact now that he wants nothing to do with Israel, and he's expelled Israeli citizens, and he's expelled everyone he can find that's connected to the Rothschilds family. There are definitely now two camps, not in terms of military power or geopolitical power. There are two camps in terms of morality that have developed. There is one where I would personally like to be, which would be on the side of righteousness and treating children as children instead of, I don't know, consumable products where you dispose of them and harvest their organs afterwards. I would not like to be on that side of morality. I want to stand with the people who believe that the world could be a better place, that we could all live together. And so I think, as much as the military and geopolitical picture is going on, what we're actually witnessing as well is a morality war. We are witnessing two sides. I think we might even be in the end times where I don't know, I can't say, but that's how it feels to me. That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I mean, and you know that I've said for a long time now, if this isn't the end times, someone somewhere is going to an awful lot of fucking trouble to make it look as if it's the end times.
Yeah.
And the thing is this, and we're about to transfer to the lone gunman. But the Epstein files reveal a lot more than just the pedophiles and the torture and the rape. Now, yes, we can now look at the speeches that Putin made about the Western world being ruled by a pedophile satanic cult and say, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
We can listen to him say the vampire's ball is coming to an end. And all we can do is hope and pray that's the case. Because right now, I would love Russia to fucking invade and set us fucking free. Because we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But as I said, the Epstein files contain an awful lot more. Talk about, I don't know, the manipulation of time and space. Talk about ancient civilizations, just for a couple. So, Alex, I think it's time that we transition to the lone gunman. Folks, stick around. Listen to the music, even if you hate my voice. And we'll be back in just a second with the lone gunman Rise Again. See him wasted in the saddle. He comes riding through your town. He's wearing yesterday's misfortunes like a smile. Once he had a future full of money, love, and dreams, but he spent like it was going out of style. But he just keeps on believing that for better or for worse, he's searching for a shrine he's never found. Never knowing if believing is a blessing or a curse, or if going up is worth coming down. He's a poet and a picker, he's a prophet and a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home. He has tasted good and evil in the bedrooms and the bars. He's traded in tomorrows for today. He's running from his demons and he's reaching for the stars, leaving everything he's loved along the way. And the world just keeps on turning, so for better or for worse, all he ever gets is older and around. From the rocking of his cradle to the rolling of the hearse, going up's not worth coming down. But he's a poet and a picker, he's a prophet and a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth, he's partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home. Welcome, pilgrims. We know you're weary from traversing a world which has truly gone, provably, utterly insane. The internet is a morass of disinformation, misinformation, AI manipulation, shysters, shoosters, snake oil salesmen, most of whom want your money. By accident or design, you found us this afternoon, so come on in. Grab yourself a seat by my fire. Pour yourself an adult beverage, because trust me, you're going to need it. Roll yourself something warm and brown and golden to get you through this day. For this afternoon, the lone gunman rides again. Alex Glenn. Let me just read this. A little tweet from someone called Quantic AST. Probably a bot, but I don't know. Anyway, what they just gave a nice little list, and it's true. Since the Oompa Loompa pulled out of the WHO, the Russian cancer vaccine is now ready for use with 100% success rate in trials. Vietnamese medical team have been curing leukemias using stem cells with 100% success. Spanish triple drug therapies for pancreatic cancers are showing complete tumor elimination in mice. No resistance, permanent regression. Korean scientists are reversing colon cancer. A major breakthrough is claimed. The Chinese, they're claiming a breakthrough reversing colorectal and lung metastasis, progress and reversing metastatic colorectal and lung cancers. The Mexicans, for fuck's sake, have a breakthrough for HPV-related cancers, cervical and other sort of cancers. Fenbendazolene is achieving remission in stage 4 cancers across the board. Complete remission in advanced melanoma, breast, and prostate cancers. Suddenly, the whole world seems to be able to do miraculous fucking things. Okay. Before I set the two of you loose on what you've been researching this week, the boss caught me taking this from the kitchen. What do you want that for? I said, because I like a show and tell. I think most of us can agree. There we go. A little egg timer. Yeah. See the sand slipping away. That's how I feel right now. The sand is slipping away. Alex, does it feel that way to you? Does it feel that way to you guys in the chat? But Alex, does it feel that way to you?
If the sand is normality or any sense of normality that we've known in our lifetimes, and I know people are saying it's never been normal or never been good. If that sand is normality, then yes, it feels like it's slipping away very, very fast.
Glenn, what about you?
Well, I'm not sure how big the egg timer is, but it feels like we're down to the last few grains. It feels like we're watching the last few grains fall onto that heap at the bottom. And I don't think anyone seems to be shoveling any more sand in at the top. So it's a sealed system. Maybe someone will turn that system upside down and we'll start again. And going along with the theory that time repeats itself, perhaps that will happen. I don't know. But yeah, it does feel a bit like that. Feels like we're getting ready for that flip.
Well, I said even on Wednesday that today I was going to talk a little bit about time. So before I let you two loose, I want to tell a little story. And to a lot of people that have been researching for a while, some of this ought to be familiar, but maybe my take on it's slightly different. We know, and the alternative to the show title today, and I didn't use it because I didn't want to alert them beforehand. We could have called this Alice Through the Looking Glass. Alice, I believe, is an ancient AI that the Nazis found in Antarctica. And ever since they switched the fucking bitch back on, she has been manipulating everything. She has been nudging timelines. With the Nazi bell, they found that spinning plasma in different directions created some very strange effects, like anti-gravitation, but also like potentially breaching dimensional barriers. Majestic 12, as they're known in the papers, were set up after Roswell to basically oversee this phenomena of alien technology. Of course, what we call alien technology they actually say is us from the future. They reckon that they have and had for a long time two types of craft. One they call the P-45s, and if you're from our generation, that's not such a good name. And the other they call the P-52s. And apparently, if you believe the whistleblowers, and I don't in this, but if you listen to the whistleblowers, the P-45s are from 45,000 years in the future. They're humans from the future who have developed themselves into what we now call the Greys. And they're from one particular timeline. The P-52s are again humans, this time from 52,000 years in the future. And they didn't develop into Greys, they developed into the basic Nordics. And it all depends on which timeline is taken. But both seem to be there at the same time. Rumors have persisted since the 60s of the deep state, the MK Ultra, having a device most commonly called the looking glass, which allows them to see the future, or to be more precise, potential future. I contend that Alice has been nudging the timeline and creating temporal nodal points. Now, as you know, a temporal nodal point is something that can't be changed, like the events of 9/11 or the assassination of JFK. These things happen on every timeline. Stanford University quietly, about 2 years ago, but I'm sure I reported on it at the time, came out with a mathematical peer-reviewed study showing that time travel was indeed possible. But they concluded you would only ever do it backwards. If you try to time travel forwards, you have no idea of what you're running into. But if you time travel backwards, we have all the records, all the history. We know what the conditions were, and we can plot that, especially using something like an AI supercomputer. Turns out, according to Stanford, the optimal time to go back to would be the 1980s. And let's think. I'm 57 years old. I grew up with vinyl records and 8 tracks. Then we got cassettes. Then we got CDs, DVDs. We had the VHS player. We had the Walkman, and then that became and the boom, the ghetto boomers. We had the Walkman CD player. We had the MP3 player. We had CDs, and now everything's downloadable. We had Ping that became PlayStation fucking 4s and virtual realities almost overnight. I mean, the change since the 80s is off the fucking scale. Coinky dinky. Now, it seemed that Looking Glass was found because someone or something pointed America to start looking at ancient Sumerian seals. And they bought those that they could. And when that wasn't enough, well, they started to invade countries. Ancient Sumeria is ancient Babylon, and ancient Babylon is in a little place called Iraq. Saddam Hussein had been excavating Babylon for years. It's where he and the Republican Guards had their last hangout. It was taken by a multinational force, again fulfilling biblical prophecy. And the Central Museum of Iraq got ram raided. Seals were what they were stealing. And then we have talk of the discovery of the burial chamber of Gilgamesh. Oh, and suddenly the US has a great big fucking military base right over the top of that motherfucker. You can see the wars of the 21st century very much in terms of archaeological wars. But here's the problem. Let's say you have this device, this looking glass, that shows you potential futures, and you can nudge this way or nudge that way in an attempt to get towards the future that you want. Turns out all the rumors say they could only see up to a certain date, and after that, everything went grey. That date was 2030. There is, in my belief, a celestial event coming that they know about. And they're going to use it for their great reset because it will wipe most of humanity off the face of the planet almost instantly. Clean slate time. And then they're going to punch a hole through space-time to the Atlantean condition to bring back the old gods. At this point, I could be a professor and say discuss. But instead, I'll ask Glenn, what's your reaction to that? And then once Alex has given hers, you can get on with your presentation for today.
Yeah. A lot of threads seem to be coming together at the moment. When you were speaking about the Sumerians and the cuneiform tablets, the guy who was credited and who was supposedly the man who broke the code of cuneiform writing was a guy called Samuel Kramer, and he, towards the end of his life, started to say some very odd things. He started to say, even though I translated all these tablets, I think I've got it all wrong. He said, I think we're trying to think about what the Sumerians were trying to tell us through the lens of 20th century thinking. He said, I don't believe they even thought the same way that we do. So that's something I want to investigate a bit further on that kind of side of it. And you're right that they ransacked the greatest collection that there's ever been of Babylonian and pre-Babylonian Sumerian artifacts from Iraq. So yeah, beyond what they tell you, I believe there's a very deep understanding that history is not how it's been presented to us, and great efforts have been made to try and cover that up. But this thing, it's like that scenario of holding the beach ball underwater. This thing has leaked, and now lots of people seem to be, or have been for quite a lot of years, talking about all of this. So I always hoped we would start to move into an age of this great revelation where it will be allowed to become mainstream that history is not what we believe, and that there were ancient civilizations with some very advanced technology that we don't know anything about, but which I believe that we do know about, but we've kept it secret. So all of that is kind of my take on it. I think a lot of what we thought of as wars for one purpose have been wars for another, in order to get our hands on this stuff. And something big is coming. I mean, what have we got in? I think it's the end of 2029, is it? When Apophis is supposed to pass very well. They thought it was going to hit us. Then they said, oh, no, it's not. But now they're saying it's going to pass very, very close in between us and sort of the distance of the moon, 250,000 miles, which in space terms is a cigarette paper. So any miscalculation on that score, and Apophis could be a world ender. So maybe that's the event they're preparing us for, or maybe it's something else.
Yeah, I mean, Apophis is meant to skim us like a bullet skimming someone's ear.
Yeah.
Not that I think these things are connected. Maybe I do. Alex, what's your take, mate?
It's just I can't get past the sheer arrogance, I suppose, is the only word for it. You look at all of this, you look at technologies you don't really understand. And you look at that and you think, well, the best thing I could do is try and punch a hole through space-time and grab something from then and bring it to now and nudge it to it. The sheer arrogance that, I mean, what could possibly go wrong? But they're playing with things they've got no comprehension of, no ability to know what would possibly happen. And yet they don't hesitate. It's a child with dad's gun. It's sheer arrogance, and I can't even get past that level of arrogance to what could possibly go wrong and what's going on.
Well, we started this journey with Prof Doom back a ways, where Danny Castellato, let's never forget Danny, gave his life trying to expose the Octopus, which is now proud and center for all the world to see in the Epstein files. There's a reason why when they caught up with Ghislaine Maxwell, she was calling herself Janet Atlantis. There's a reason why they were so interested in having people like Jacques Cousteau's son and granddaughter on board. Stephen Hawkins, Noam Chomsky. I'll get to that before we finish today, maybe. But Glenn, why don't you tell people what you've been looking at this week and what you found?
Okay, so for this week's show, I've been looking again, and we have looked at it a couple of times. I've been looking at what CERN has been up to, let's say, and like I say, we've looked at CERN before, and we used to have the actual the man from CERN at one point who kind of gave us some insights. Never very deep, I felt, but that's was my opinion. But there have been rumors swirling around CERN for a long time, and some of those have taken an interesting and maybe disturbing turn of late. So that's what I thought I'd have a little dig into. And so I started searching again, and the first report I came across actually came from an online newspaper called the Waterford Whisperer News, which is Waterford in Ireland. And the article displayed this image. Let's look at slide 1, please, Alex. Now, the article displayed this image along with a caption underneath, which I'll read. It says, scientists at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, have admitted today to ending the world as we know it back in 2012, while performing experiments into the Higgs boson particle. Waterford Whisperer News can confirm. So I naturally thought, well, what the actual fuck is this for real? So I started looking at some of their other stories, and it turns out that the Waterford Whisperer is it's what you might call an Irish satirical news site. Okay, but maybe let's come back to that in a while. But this is just the kind of stuff that's circulating out there. Now, the story went on to quote the director of CERN, admitting that it had shifted our planet into a new timeline by accident in 2012. Okay, well, as I say, let's leave that on the back burner for now. Let's have a little look at some other things that CERN have been doing. So let's have a look at what this man is claiming. Slide 2, please, Alex. Okay, so this is a physicist and a futurist and broadcaster, and you might recognize the man's face. The man's name is Michio Kaku. Like I say, you might be familiar with him. Well, Kaku claims that some very unusual and unexplainable things are being discovered recently. Now, firstly, he says that CERN have discovered a new particle that appears to contradict the standard model of physics. And this particle has been named the tetraquark because it contains 2 quarks and 2 antiquarks. Let's look at sort of a representation of it at slide 3. That's the tetraquark, which is an exotic particle. They're actually called exotic hadrons. Now, its properties mean that it's stable for much longer in particle physics terms than any other hadron. Now, when you're talking stability in terms of these things, you are talking extremely tiny measurements of time. But this one is stable for longer. And while it is stable, it appears to be unaffected by gravity. So in theory, I want to get my notes. Yeah, so in theory, what's been discovered is an anti-gravity particle. Okay, so that's one of the things that CERN have been doing just lately. But there have been recent leaks about unexplained anomalies in CERN's data, fueling speculation that the Large Hadron Collider is no longer just being used as a tool for particle physics. There's a great deal of evidence and belief that CERN is secretly using quantum computing. And here's a quantum computer at slide 4. These things are real. They've been using quantum computing to explore realms other than our own, you might say. Now, quantum computers, with their ability to process vast calculations and compare enormous amounts of data simultaneously, all at once, you might say, could actually be the key to what's said to be the ability to simulate or even manipulate the fundamental reality of our, of nature, to actually manipulate reality. And this raises what you might call tantalizing and quite unsettling questions. Because unlike traditional computers, which operate in binary, ones and zeros, or on and off, you might say, quantum computers use qubits that actually exist in multiple states at once. And this apparently makes them uniquely suited for modeling extreme conditions of the universe, including the possibility of things like wormholes, extra dimensions, and even entirely new physical laws. All right. Now, one theory is that CERN is using these systems to stabilize or even create the conditions to access parallel universes. Slide 5, please, Alex. Purely sort of give you something to look at. Now, almost every cosmologist now, right now believes that parallel universes are a reality. And some of these parallel universes are extremely different from our own, but some are almost the same, with very minor differences. And parallel universes are not the only things suggested and believed in by cosmologists, but they're also, they're also suggested by the strange behavior of the quantum world, in which reality isn't fixed, but kind of exists as an endless sea of possibility. This is what quantum physics suggests. And this is borne out by string theory, which actually requires extra dimensions beyond the ones that we experience in order to function. So string theory requires extra dimensions. And these are the kind of things that the scientists at CERN are looking into. Now, I said I put that original spoof report on the back burner. Let's actually go back to that spoof report by the Waterford Whisperer news site. And when you think about what they're looking at, this isn't quite as far-fetched as it seems. Because some scientists have speculated that CERN's experiments could have the potential to inadvertently alter our timeline by causing what they call high energy ripples in reality. Now, that's quite a sort of thing to get your head round. Okay. And when it comes to CERN, they're not always forthcoming with the results of their experiments. Back in 2016, it's known that CERN detected a new particle that didn't quite fit any known category. But instead of sort of celebrating this, CERN went silent and clamped down on everything that was coming out about this particle. And it left its findings shrouded in mystery. Now, some suggested that what CERN had discovered was either a particle from a different dimension, or perhaps a particle that has traveled in time from the future. And there is a theory that says, there is an actual physicists have constructed a theory that future events can affect the past through the quantum world. It's extremely complex, but much like the tetraquark that doesn't obey the laws of gravity, these things are possible. All right. And speaking of gravity, CERN itself has stated that one reason that gravity is actually the weak force that we know it as, it's the weakest of the atomic forces. CERN have said that they believe gravity spreads out into other dimensions, and that extra dimensions are most likely the reason that the universe continues to expand. And not only expand, but actually is speeding up. That expansion of our universe is accelerating. Because as each new dimension is formed, that dimension requires a space in which to exist in. And so the universe expands to accommodate it. Now, this all sounds kind of, whoa, this is extra dimensions need room to exist in. This is not fantasy. This is scientific explanations. Okay. This is what CERN, the scientists at CERN, are actually saying. Now, Einstein's general theory of relativity states that space can expand or contract. What's at slide 6, please, Alex? Right, okay. Now, CERN says that if a dimension were to contract to a size smaller than an atom, so an entire dimension is at this, the size of a quark, one of the subatomic particles, they say that its relative dimensions to anything that existed within that dimension would remain unchanged as far as could be perceived by anything existing in that dimension. So our dimension could actually be one of these tiny dimensions, but to us, we perceive it as everything there is. And to kind of simply demonstrate that in one way, these small extra dimensions, a simple way to imagine that would be to a tightrope walker. There are only two dimensions to a tightrope, that you can either go forwards or back. But to something as small as an ant, it becomes a three-dimensional surface which you can walk all the way round on. So this is the theory of how we can't perceive extra dimensions. All right, so we couldn't perceive an a very, very tiny dimension unless we were that size ourselves. Then we would perceive it as being just like our dimension, as big as. Okay. And this very much seems to be what CERN have been trying to do. They've been trying to perceive these extra dimensions at the very, very tiny quantum level. Okay. CERN have been trying to find particles that can only exist if extra dimensions are real. And I thought, well, right, that's gonna blow people's minds. And I want you to think about a simple explanation. I want you to think about X-rays. Okay, let's look at some X-rays at slide 7. Now, we know that X-rays exist because we can detect them with machinery, and we can actually use their properties to see inside things like the human body. But yet our eyes cannot perceive X-rays because they're at an electromagnetic frequency that our eyes aren't designed to perceive. But we know that they exist. So this is the same. If you think about extra dimensions in that way, we don't have the ability to perceive them, but that doesn't mean that they cannot exist. Okay. And in that way, extra dimensions could exist all around us. But up until recently, we're at a scale we could not perceive or measure. And that is what CERN has been desperately trying to do. But this is only one end of the sort of extra dimension scale, as it were, because theoretically, extra dimensions could also exist at a scale similar to ours, or even larger than ours. But because of their vibrational frequency, the actual vibrational frequency of the strings, which is the smallest possible existing thing. This is string theory. Those strings vibrate at a frequency that we cannot detect, and therefore they will be again imperceivable to us. Trying to make complicated things simple. Another way CERN has been looking for extra dimensions is supposedly been by creating what are called microscopic black holes. And we can sort of see an illustration of a black hole here at slide 8. Now, these black holes within the accelerator would actually be the size of a particle, and they would disappear in what they say is 10 to the minus 27th of a second. So they're extremely, extremely short-lived. But by some complicated mathematical way, which if I was to put it on the screen, would fill the screen and I wouldn't understand. I'm not even going to try to explain it. The formation of this particle-sized black hole actually depends on the number of extra dimensions present at that level. Okay. And also the mass of the hole and the amount of energy at which the hole appeared. So to kind of sum up what it seems CERN have been doing for a while now is basically trying to detect extra dimensions. But CERN, being CERN, have said that it hasn't currently found any extra dimensions, slide, or any other possible universes. Slide 9, please, Alex. But that relies on you and I taking their word for it. But whether they have succeeded or not, it's certain that this is what they have been trying to do. They haven't been able to suppress what they actually have been trying to do. They've actually been trying to reach the other side of the looking glass. Okay. So that was my little look at what CERN have been doing, what they have been reportedly been doing, and what they seem quite keen to suppress. Okay.
Glenn, it's worth just pointing out at this juncture that we don't collaborate in terms of
Not at all.
what we're going to be talking about. You had no idea I was going to introduce Alice through the looking glass, and yet you included
No.
it in your slides. Serendipity. One of the commenters said that CERN was the ultimate fuck around and find out, and it literally was. They had literally no fucking idea what would happen when they started colliding these particles. We have oodles of scientists, including Stephen Hawking, who wrote to United Nations saying, don't let them fucking do this. But then these creatures have a long history of doing things. And, you know, for your enjoyment, folks could look up Operation Optimus Prime or Operation Starfish. That's when the US decided it'd be a good idea to detonate nuclear weapons high in the stratosphere to see what would happen. Even though their own scientists told them there's a chance you're going to set the fucking atmosphere on fire.
Could go wrong.
All right, okay, let's do it anyway. Fuck it. You know, I mean, it's the ultimate fucking. What was that big fucking YouTube sensation when the cunts fucking jackass? It's the ultimate fucking jackass.
Yeah.
We don't know if it will end the world, but let's just fucking try anyway.
Yeah.
There's you talked about string theory, and that's hard enough to get your head around. I'm going to talk about M theory. M theory is the theory of everything.
No.
Now, before I unleash Alex on what she was looking at, someone said this sounds like 60s fucking LSD dreams. Because they were. I told you that from the 60s they had the looking glass. Who were the first to suggest alternative universes? Well, that's right, Star Trek Season 3, where they go through a wormhole and find themselves in a dimension where the Federation is a galactic empire. So they knew about it way back then. Yes, they fucking did. The Nazi bell was CERN 1.0. CERN, as we have it in Switzerland, was Shiva. Oh, the goddess of destruction and rebirth, the cycle. Alex, I know that I blew your mind when I suggested that time wasn't just circular, it was spherical. Well, let's blow it a little bit further. How about every dimension is a potential timeline? Oh, now we've not just got time being spherical, we've got dimensions being spherical. To the point where somewhere out there is a version of me made entirely out of fucking crayons. Possibly.
All possibilities.
Now, something shifted in 2012. I have no doubt about that. And it was from about then that we start getting the Mandela effect as well. So, what if they're not just nudging our timeline? Nudge, nudge, Sabutio, Alex. But what if they were gently bumping us by doing so into different dimensions? And if they were to bump us, you see, from this dimension into the dimension where I'm made entirely from fucking crayons, everyone might go, wait a fucking minute. 10 seconds ago, I had big, podgy fucking flesh fingers and now they're made of crayons. So, instead, they're just popping us over as gently as they can to the dimensions closest to the one that we're already in. Oh, and in those dimensions, well, Darth Vader doesn't say, Luke, I am your father. In those dimensions, it's not Bearstein, it is Bearstein. In those dimensions, Pikachu does have a black tail. In those dimensions, when he says, build it and they will come, that's right, when they say life is like a box of chocolates and it is an interview with the vampire. Maybe I need to roll another smoke because I'm starting to make sense. Alex.
I'm obviously making sense to me.
Glenn doesn't make sense in some weird way.
Of course, it feels like it shouldn't make sense, but I'm not a particle physicist, and they fucking believe this stuff. Cosmologists believe this stuff, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to investigate other dimensions, other realities. And the bubble universe theory has been around for quite a long time. And the theory goes that the adjacent bubbles are the closest ones to our reality, and that those bubbles can intersect, and that it might be possible to either merge two bubbles together or to jump from one bubble to another. And this is all mainstream science. It's not fantasy. So, yeah.
And yet we come back to time is running out. Oh. My own head often gets fucking puggled with this stuff.
Yeah.
Alex, does it make sense a little bit to you? I mean, am I whistling Dixie, or does it start to feel kind of right?
Yeah, it does, even though I still struggle to get my head round it. But it does have that ring of truth. I knew today was going to start blowing my brain just by, and even before we got to the explanation, just by looking at Glenn's slides. Putting the slides together, and I thought, this is going to blow my brain. And I'm kind of hoping it's a bit like building muscle, that it builds back up a bit stronger and a bit more able to accept and realize these concepts. But it does start adding up. It does start making sense, and it does tie in with everything that's out there, because weirdly, the Mandela effect, the actual Mandela part of it, is the one I don't recall. I knew he was still alive. I never had any reference or any idea of him having died in prison. That's not one to me that ever did happen. but so many of the other little bits and pieces do seem thing. I remember the cornucopia on Fruit of the Loom, and I run a t-shirt printing company, so I was looking at that label over and over and over. So I remember that, and it's so many things, but it's weird. Just, and I've gone off on complete tangent and I can't remember the original question, but I was going to ask a question earlier today when I was putting everything together, and I thought, this is either a very stupid question, it's either a question that why am I asking this, or it's a why haven't I asked this a long time ago, and it was whether CERN was the Nazi Bell 2.0. So there is a serendipity or whatever it is.
No, Alex, it's I mean, these literally are mind-bending topics that we're dealing with now. And they're all in the Epstein files, people. That's what I'm trying to say to you. All these things are right there in those Epstein emails, apart from the disgusting killing and raping and everything else. All this has happened before, and all this will happen again. I think I've been putting that one out there for years too. So before I puggle all our minds a bit more, why don't you tell us what you've been looking at, Alex, and what you found out this week?
Okay. Well, my subject today was to find out what I could about red mercury, with sort of specific reference to De Glock. Now, almost the first thing you run into is a debunk article from the BBC, which sort of immediately tells me there's something in this, because these are some of the same people, after all, that are claiming Epstein was a Russian spy. So once the BBC starts debunking something, we've reached full obfuscation. So let's start with that article. So the Beeb tells us a meandering tale that takes us from a healing elixir found in the Egyptian pyramids, through searching through bats' nests, because, well, we know everything comes from bats, through what was possibly one of the best marketing ploys to get a good price for vintage sewing machines, right back to the Cold War nuclear program of Russia. I mean, even when it was the bats, it was the Russians. Now, I haven't chosen to spend too much time following up on their stories of a Saudi prince contacting archaeologists in Egypt to obtain a magical substance that's found in the throats of mummies, although perhaps it would be more accurate than some of the others to say that all roads do seem to lead back to the pyramids. I'm not going to take you rummaging in the nests of bats, mainly because bats don't actually build nests in the first place. And whilst I do have a vintage Singer sewing machine, at least somewhere, I don't know where it ever ended up, I'm not really going to start taking that apart on a search for red mercury. No, despite the recently rekindled Reds Under the Beds paranoia of it being a 1980s Soviet nuclear material, and knowing human nature, I think the idea of it being a weapon or a wonder weapon likely. Even while the BBC asserts that the only real red mercury is mercury sulfide, which is also known as cinnabar and used for decorating pottery, there still seems to be something in this concept. Red mercury is a hoax, they say. It's a conspiracy theory. Now, let me give you a hint on one of my research tactics, and I don't think in some ways I'm that good of a researcher, but one way, people say you can't find anything on Google. Well, you can, but you have to reverse search. So you don't search red mercury, you search red mercury conspiracy theory. You search it as if you're trying to debunk, as if you're trying to find what these lunatics believe. And then you'll suddenly get the hints, the breadcrumbs to know what to look at beyond that. Of course, I use other search engines as well. I'm not suggesting I do everything on Google, but there is a way to find information on them. But they say red mercury doesn't exist, and yet they say for some reason the myth endures. Well, there's usually a reason that myths endure. So let's jump over a second and look at the Nazi bal. Now, legend has it in the dying days of the Third Reich that their scientific and their engineering teams were up to all sorts and were desperately looking for eine Wunderwaffe, a wonder weapon. Now, the V1 flying bombs and the V2 rocket, they're all accepted as being real. So why not the case? Even the Messerschmitt, the M262, the Swallow, are all accepted developments. So why not Die Glock? Why is Die Glock consigned to the world of myth and the world of conspiracy? What is so extreme that its very existence of this advancement, if you like, or experiment cannot be acknowledged? Why not just say it was a failed experiment, though? Are we supposed to not know, but are we supposed to continue to ask? I don't have an answer for that, but it's just what strikes my mind. Because so many of these things, whether that's Roswell, whether that's anything else, they don't close off people asking. They don't give you an explanation which will close the door on that speculation. They almost deliberately leave it open for you to fish. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on the history of the myth or on debunking the debunk, but let's look at what Die Glock or the bal was supposed to be and what it was, how it was supposed to function. Now, we're told it was a bal-shaped device made of hard, heavy metal, approximately 9 feet or 2.7 meters in diameter, and 12 feet or 3.7 meters tall. It was purported to contain 2 counter-rotating cylinders filled with a substance named serum 525, which has been described as a metallic liquid, violet in colour and similar to mercury, which was highly radioactive and stored in lead-lined containers when not in use. Now, some researchers have concluded that this liquid and red mercury are the same thing. Now, the most common claim about the bal is that it was an anti-gravity device and was able to nullify or manipulate gravitational forces. But elsewhere, it has been suggested that Die Glock was a time manipulation device, whether that was an accidental discovery or whether that was part of the intent of the project. Now, there's claims being made that it was given the code names Kronos, meaning time, or Lanzentrager, meaning light bearer, and that there was reference to a gate of time. But these are the claims are not supposedly been proven. Now, we do know that the facility where the bal was supposedly developed does exist. Codenamed Zeris, or the Giant, it's located in the Wenceslas mine in Lower Silesia, modern-day Poland, and was a complex of underground tunnels and facilities. It also contained a curious concrete structure that's been nicknamed the Henge and has been interpreted as a testing rig for Die Glock. Now, I'm aware I'm going off on something of a tangent. I just want to make one more foray away from red mercury, and that is to the reported effects of the testing on, well, pretty much any living organism in the vicinity. See, the device allegedly had a harmful influence extending 500 to 650 feet in all directions. And within that area, or within that zone, it's reckoned that plant matter would reportedly decompose into a blackish grease-like substance, and animals would suffer from disruption to cellular function. It could cause blood congealing and separating. And there are claims of human casualties within the scientists working on the project, and even within forced labourers working on the site construction. Now, there aren't the collaborating medical records, at least not left obtainable. But would there be if they were trying to cover everything about something up? But I've kind of allowed myself this little tangent because of this. Because red mercury aside, to me, this is an instant red string connection to the Epstein files. Because, Seth, we should explore the biological consequences of time travel. It would be amusing to calculate the rate of evolution of a population or a mutant that can travel in time. And on top of that, we've got reports of the damage to the body connected to the experiments of Die Glock. So let's get back to red mercury, or at least to serum 525. It said it was derived from gems called blue almasi and processed with ogundium ore. Now, both which are reportedly found in the region of Mount Kenya. Now, interestingly, shortly after World War II, during Operation, or caused by Operation Paperclip, if you like, the ogundium was definitely actually discovered by the States with help of these previous Nazi scientists, so there is a connection potentially to fact, which is interesting. But we are still left with many questions. So does red mercury exist? BBC would have us believe no, it's just a hoax. Does it exist? Was serum 525 the same thing as red mercury? And does it also connect in with the soup used by the Sonora Aero Club? Or even, knowing their love of telling truth in fiction, to the red matter, able to create spontaneous singularities in Star Trek's Kelvin timeline?
Oh, Alex, and you say you don't think you're a great researcher. Okay. Where do I take us now? Well, pre-show, I think yesterday, in fact, I shared with you guys a couple of videos from people far better known than we are. YouTubers. By the way, people, I know you like your Facebook, and I know this is where we were born, but go to our YouTube and subscribe, because only by doing that, even though we're not going to monetize, the more subscriptions we got, Mr. Algorithm will get some truth out there. And while I don't care who watches, the great thing about YouTube is I'm not ever going to see any YouTube comments, so I'm not ever going to lose my shit over some fucking arsehole in his mum's basement. But maybe the right people that need to see this stuff will see it. So do subscribe to our YouTube page. And Alex, when you get a chance, not now, when you get a chance, put it in the chat, because it can be quite hard to find. It's the lone gunman rides again, no spaces. 26, I think, Alex, is it?
Yeah.
On YouTube. So, a couple of the videos that I shared with you guys were from people like Candace Owens. And we know Candace is a big following, very slick. And suddenly, these people are discovering what we've been telling them for fucking years. And Candace, and the one and I'll come back to this, but in the one that I sent you guys, one of the things that I find interesting, I'm sure I've told this story before now, but let me repeat it. I don't like told you so's, and I don't like bigging me up. Maybe it's a character fault. The boss is the same. When she's gone for promotion and not gotten it, her feedback is, we know you do a lot more than you do, but you don't take credit for it. You've got to big yourself up. I'm not doing that. I hate it. But here's a true story. When I was 7 years old, I do remember people coming to our school and, oh, we're having fun today, kiddies, and let's play these games. But somehow out of that, they identified that perhaps I was a little bit different. So at 7 years old, my mother was approached and told that they would like to take me and put me into a special school, all expenses paid, because they thought I was a prodigy. Mum refused, thankfully. I continued on in Bewley Primary School, and then I went to Charleston Academy. Candace Owens says Charlie Kirk was also identified and sent to a special school. His mum said yes. Watch the Candace Owens episode for yourselves. Now, we also have MJ, who is another big YouTuber from the Y-Files, who has just been interviewed by none other but Tucker fucking Carlson. And in that interview, they definitely debunk the fact that the pyramids were ancient tombs. I think there's even a TikTok clip at Tucker's utter confinement when MJ tells him that no mummy has ever been found in any fucking pyramid ever. Oh, but mummies did have red mercury in them, and the pyramids, and look at that ground penetrating radar and the spirals going down from the pyramids now, and Oh, the Aztec pyramids have been found with pools of fucking liquid mercury, and oh, and on I could fucking go. And we know, and we do know, we can prove it beyond a shadow of doubt. The Nazis tested not one but two atomic bombs. They bet the USA to the punch on fucking atomic bombs. They just couldn't deliver them anywhere. That's provable, people. If you don't believe me, Jesus Christ, I'll send a link. I'll put, after the show, I will put a link on my own page to the research done by Dr. Joseph P. Farrell. Proven beyond a shadow of doubt the Nazis tested two nuclear bombs. But Alex, that wasn't the Wunderwaffe. That wasn't the war-changing weapon. That complex there in Poland where the henge is was a huge Nazi concentration camp that used tens of thousands of slave laborers as part of F.G. Fabin's. There's a big chemical giant that became, apart from other things, Modiva, that was sold, or Moderna, sorry, that was sold to Soros for a penny, literal penny, at the end of World War II. And Jeffrey Epstein is suddenly transported from his life as being a low-grade teacher, not even a very good one, to being the CEO of Moderna. If you could Adam and Eve that. The F.G. Farbin, on the site of the Bell, apparently had a factory, one that required tens of thousands of slave laborers. And what they were supposed to be developing was synthetic rubber. Except Nazi Germany had synthetic rubber for at least 3 fucking years. The other curious thing about this place was it was literally drawing more electricity than all of the greater Berlin area. Now, I don't know. Gold star for anyone in the comments that gets this before I reveal it. But what's happening right here and right now in modern terms, where Alice, who the fuck is Alice, is demanding gigantic data centers which will, anyone got a jet, require more electricity than any fucking city. Now, just to puggle your brains a little bit further. At the very same time, the Nazis were using gobloads of electricity to spin red mercury into plasmas, no less than Albert Einstein, John Trump, yes, Uncle John, and Nikola Tesla were experimenting with a US naval ship called the fucking Eldridge using plasma with gobloads of fucking electricity. We didn't have a nuclear arms race, people. We had a plasma temporal arms race. And the Nazis fucking won. But so they could then deploy, we had Operation Paperclip. And now we've gone from our grandfathers fighting the Nazis to we are the Nazi. Class, discuss. Glenn.
Yeah. I mean, you've got people like Alan Dulles being involved in a recovery operation in Italy where they recovered lots of gold, but it was also reported that they discovered that they brought back certain technologies that had been moved out of Nazi Germany. And there's a great suspicion that the Americans actually got their hands on a Glocker, or at least parts of it, and that is a highly credible. That's highly believable. So there's no doubt that post-war the Americans were in a race to get everything that they could out of Nazi Germany. The Russians too were interested in it, and so this was a technological race to try to get their hands on something they themselves had been experimenting with, but had not been as successful. As in, you mentioned the Philadelphia experiment. You know that. This stuff is not to be messed with lightly. You know, you cannot go around fucking about with these technologies, or perhaps you can. You know, if you really don't care about the consequences. You know, but once they got their hands on those technologies, well, what did they do with them? Did they simply put them in crates? You know, like I don't know.
Indiana Jones in a temple.
Yeah. Did they just simply put them in crates and forget about this shit? Of course they didn't. Of course, they just kept working on it secretly. It's as plain as the nose on your face, for fuck's sake. Yeah.
And anytime they got any success, it was taken from the public realm into the deep state, the military-industrial complex, and disappeared for all intents and purposes. Alex, I mean, your reaction up to now, and I'm not finished, people, not yet, but your reaction up to now.
Yeah, I've one question at the moment, or two questions, or one question with two possibilities, and you've just kind of set the scene for it without any knowledge of, because I was going to say every time they have something that reaches a certain point, it disappears into a hidden realm, it disappears into the deep state, and I'm starting to wonder if they had all this and they had all this thing, did the Nazis lose the war or appear to lose the war because that knowledge and that information disappeared into an international deep state? Or did they only, were they meant to lose the war, but were they meant to win the war, but they only lost because of the Soviet Union and because of Russia?
Oh, okay. I need to answer that one then.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. Because as yet, I've not gone into what the Soviets were up to. There is an old PlayStation game I used to love called War Commander. And in it, you had missions if you want to play that, but the real game was you chose a map and you had something that could build a base, and from that base you expanded and you had to mine and you had to, grow things. And the first one's good, but the second one was far better. That was the one where in the start of the game, Einstein goes back in time and kills Hitler. And then you come forward and it's NATO against the Soviet Union, and your battlefield is Europe. And you're the good guys. The Russians are the bad guys. And you have Tesla weapons so you can defend your base, but they have a thing called the chronosphere where they can freeze and go back in time and attack you from behind. Oh, well. Yes. The Nazis were meant to win in World War II. I think the Soviets prevented it. And when it became obvious that they couldn't outright win World War II, they did what's happening right now in Ukraine. They transitioned from a hot war to a dirty war. And in Ukraine, they're getting their asses felt left, right, and centre, but they're going for terrorist tactics, gladioli tactics, like we've talked about before, Glenn. I don't know if there's white hats. I do know that right now the Western world's on the wrong side of history, and we all are Nazis in everything we see. From the EU. The EU was designed by the Nazis to rule Europe. NATO is the Nazi fucking Foreign Legion brigades. So, let me just do a Columbo. One more thing. Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, which leads you to Robert Maxwell, it leads you back to Mossad, had this intense thing about what dark journalist calls the hot zone off the coast of Bimini or the Yucatan Peninsula that might stretch all the way to Spain and Portugal in a way that they've already told us. Scotland was once connected to Europe through Doggerland. And they found these exotic ruins of a ancient civilization in the oceans between the Yucatan and Spain, especially off the Bimini coast because they've got the Bimini Wall. And Geoffrey and Ghislaine not only had an island there, Little St. James, we know, which is the Nickelodeon fucking emblem, but, and someone asked, was Marksville connected to Disney? Well, what do you think? Look at the Epstein Temple! And then look at fucking Walt Disney's logo. But even from Hemingway, I kid you not, and JFK, and Edgar Casey, they were all intensely interested in what was happening. And, they call it the Bermuda Triangle, don't they? That's another name for it. The Bimini Coast. Why did Jeff, little Jeff, as he calls himself when he's playing his games, why did he and Ghislaine set up a foundation called Terramar, which interacts directly with our Danica Solero and the Octopus? Why did they own a private mini submarine, which they even outfitted to take Stephen Hawkins down in? And that outfitting cost millions. What were they taking Noel Chomsky and Stephen Hawkins and Jacques Cousteau's fucking son? What were they taking them down to see? Is it the same shit that they found in Antarctica? Why did a billionaire who's not named in the files have a first edition copy of Alice in Wonderland on his yacht that Hemingway and Maxwell visited? That was sealed in a box in such a way that even if the yacht was sunk, that first edition would be preserved. Oh, well, I'm probably just crazy. But it seems to me that Edgar Casey reasons say there were two groups, if you like, in the Atlantean hierarchy that we can kind of identify, well, I don't know, in the ancient Sumerian king list and the Anunnaki king list and every fucking mythology that you can mention of those that were pro us and fuck them, kill them all. And the ancient Atlantis had a technology, Edgar Casey called it the two-eye stone. And it made you cannot change the laws of physics, Captain, except the two-eye stone could. It could take gigantic fucking blocks of stone weighing hundreds of thousands of tons and fit them with precision into pyramids or walls or cities. Could also be used to split the earth asunder. And in the Atlantean mythology, the two sides collide. At a time when astronomically there's two suns in the sky, and whether they came from Mars or whether they came from Nibiru, gods lived among men and they were giants. When they used the weapons, the earth slipped. Bullshit. Continents immediately were flooded. Other continents rose from the sea. Mountains which had stood for thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years became ocean beds, and ocean beds became mountains. And even the Chinese, in their most ancient imperial writings, talk about the time when the world changed. And the emperor had to send riders to the four corners of the earth to determine which was east, south, north, and west. They say that they closed down Project Looking Glass because they couldn't see anything past 2030. My friends, doesn't it feel that time is running out? I probably said a whole lot more than I meant to today. Alex?
Good. Though it might take me a while to process some of that.
Well, it's taken me fucking 57 years to process some of that, so don't worry, take your time.
I need a few more balls of red string too. It's you use the analogy. I can't say all I can say is this one, but you use the analogy of the Bayeux tapestry. Well, I don't know about standing forward. I don't know about standing back, but I think you just weaved several panels of it. And that's all I can say at the moment.
Stephen, I'm sorry, brother. He says his brain is fried now as well. Glenn, you know.
Yeah, no, it's not as if, to be honest, there weren't clues left for us. It's not as if this story just disappeared. Yeah, this is mentioned in one way or another. Open your Bible to Genesis. There's this story. Look at the Epic of Gilgamesh. There's the story. Look at the writings in Chinese, some of the in the Indian Vedas. There's this story, this great war that happened with involving powerful forces, flying machines, fantastic weapons. There's this story in the story of the two factions within Atlantis that resulted in a terrible war that basically caused the Great Flood and caused all sorts of calamities on the earth. And there's the story in the Mayan tradition that says after this calamity, these people basically came to try and make it up somehow and try and recreate the world, and gave them information and gave them knowledge about astronomy and farming and medicine and all these things in order to try and repair the damage that they'd done. All of those, throughout history, all of the clues to the story have always been there, but have been cast aside, disregarded as myth, as fantasy, as just stories. But when you fit all the stories together, they tell the story, the one story. And that is, I think, what we're finally coming to understand, that none of this is just separate mythologies. These are all parts that you can draw together to form a picture of what actually happened in the distant past. So none of this is fantasy as far as I can see. It's more and more just the blowing of the dust away from forgotten reality. Okay.
And the thing is, as someone said in the chat, why not flip the time glass? And you said, Glenn, earlier when I said that I feel like time is running out, you said, yes, doesn't seem like anyone's shoveling sand into the top. But what if they are? What if when the last grains run out, instantly the hourglass is filled again?
It's reset.
It's reset. Oh, great reset, Glenn, you mean?
A reset.
Oh, are we reaching for something here, people? Yeah. Two. There's two destinies. Each will result in a different timeline and maybe a different reason. And the truth is,
You're gone quiet.
oh, and suddenly,
As if by magic.
hear me now.
Not so well, but we can hear you.
There are two paths ahead of us. One leads to a dystopian nightmare where they merge man with machine, and AI attempts to ride out the coming cataclysm. The second is, as I described earlier, where they attempt to punch through and bring the ancient gods back. But there's always the ghost in the machine. We are that ghost in the machine. And I apologize not if that seems to be a Doctor Who reference. Glenn, what do you think, brother?
Yeah, I think today has been another one of those days where connections have been made to the big story. And it is that biotapestry thing. It is pulling back. It is looking again in the way that things that seem random are not random. Events throughout time and history and why people did this and why this occurred start to make more sense if you look at things as part of a greater whole, as part of an ongoing agenda that has fractured this world, that has fractured this world yet again into factions, into great competing factions that are both working on their own agendas. They may be similar agendas, but they don't exactly envision the outcome the same. You know, whatever you might call these two sides, you know, whatever you choose to call them, they both profess to follow ancient knowledge. They're both working towards something that most people cannot grasp. They're trying to realize this timeline again. They are trying to work, you know, towards maybe you might call it the golden age. You might call it the golden age if you were of a certain faction. You might call it, you know, you might call it the Great Reset. You might call it anything you like, but there is no doubt that this exists. And it is part of something much more ancient, and it's part of a repetition of a rediscovery and to a large extent, a re-engineering of what went before. So that's what I kind of think.
Yes. Sorry, Glenn, I'm not laughing at any of that.
Yeah, it's all right.
No,
So
I'm
you
laughing.
might, a lot of people would find that laughable. You know, it
No,
sounds laughable.
I'm laughing at life and the comments. Warrior poets. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And Arthur Koestler did indeed write The Ghost in the Machine. We are, to my mind, that ghost. And because your children, your grandchildren, you're one of the people, Glenn, that looks for, you and Jackie look for a cause to change what you see as inevitable. Well, brother, I'm glad that you've kept the faith, because now I think you're starting to see it. Now I think I'm starting to reveal it. There is, sorry, and I looked for the tweet and I couldn't find it. But a very well-known journalist who tweeted today And this is a paraphrasing, but a very close one, because you know my brain, it's very almost fucking uh, photogenic, but I mean, not quite. But what he said in his rather long tweet was, everyone tells me we're running out of time. From the politicians to the billionaires, they all know something's coming. They all seem scared. And they keep telling me we're running out of time. And I know that's a little bit vague, but you know what? For those people that say, what's your link? Show me the evidence. Well, I think we've shown plenty fucking evidence, motherfuckers. I don't need to prove my cojones anymore. Alex.
It's a division, factions fighting it out through history, throughout time. A inability to see anything beyond 2030. Numerous agendas, numerous plans that are all 2030, as if we have to maneuver things in a certain way, as if we have to be at a certain point in time by that moment. It all starts adding up, it all starts connecting in. Two factions, two possible futures. We're all ghost in the machine, maybe, but all I can say is we need to find number 3. We need to Kobayashi Maru the fuck out of this situation.
Oh, Alex. You had to, didn't you?
I had to.
Yeah. Where's Kirk when you need him?
I don't like Kirk, but
Every time we play the introduction song to Stanford, everyone's a Superman, everyone's a Captain Kirk. Sorry you don't like Captain Kirk. Because I think I am him. To an extent. And these shows are my attempt to reprogram the Koramashi Maru. To insert into the matrix the fact that someone somewhere can see them. And that's the one thing, the very one thing that they fear. That the code can be subtly altered. Out with their control. That there might just be a ghost in the machine. A William Tell. A Spartacus. A Robin Hood. A William de Murray. A Douglas. A warrior poet that can stand for peace. Glenn, very last thoughts for the audience, and
Very much got to us.
and I'll your brother.
I'm just looking at the back of my Star Trek mug, and this is a Kirk quote, and he says, "Sometimes a feeling is all we humans have to go on. A taste of Armageddon." Now, I must admit, I don't think I've paid any attention to that, but I think sometimes a feeling is what we have to go on, and the feeling is that what we need to do is uncover the truth, understand the truth, and spread the truth. And when enough people know the truth, then less people can be fooled. I know we talk about being awake, but that means a lot of things to a lot of people. But awake to me would be that we would be united against, forearmed with knowledge that we are being undermined, that we are being steered, and that there is something we can do about it. I would like to think that there is this force that can at least try to combat these agendas, and that is a feeling. And sometimes a feeling is all we have to go on. So that's what I'd leave you with.
Roger in the comments said, "Where is Q when you need him?" I showed it on the screen. And yet, again, people never made the connection between the Q in Star Trek Next Generation and the Q post. Oh, Alex, you need a bit longer bit of string.
Yeah.
Last thoughts for the audience. Plug tonight's show, please, mate.
Yeah, the Q in Star Trek, the ultimate trickster that reveals everything and tells nothing, and yeah.
And yes, yes.
I think we've covered a hell of a lot of ground tonight. I'm going to have to watch the explanation at least again to get my head. Oh,
yeah,
no,
I think I might have to rewatch this show.
Understand what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But yes. And yeah. And we will be back tonight if my brain recovers by then at 8 o'clock with Last Jacobites International. Because I'm either going to have to say very little, or if we're going to be here another hour if I try to pour out what's in my head at the moment.
Oh, well. There we go, people. Your Sunday dose of Lone Gunman. No, seriously, Luke. Sub on YouTube. We're not monetizing, but it just grinds my fucking gears that fucktards like Dan Bongino, Candace Owens, and these people have fucking millions of subscribers, and you're getting things that no one else even has a clue to. Clan Jacobite is here for a reason. We are the ghost in the machine. So now, take your fraggled heads. Don't worry about whether World War III starts tonight. It might. But just remember, Foreknowledge is power. It gives your choices, your nudging of the timeline, information. Use it best you can. But do me a favour. Now go fuck it off. So I can go and watch crap on TV with the boss. Bye for now. Alex, end the broadcast, please.